Okay, the next item, Commissioners, is item number 7, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan. This is 459 West Broadway, located within the Soho Cast Iron Historic District, docket number 162733, block 515, lot 4. A store building designed by John H. Whitenock and built in 1888-89. Application is to construct rooftop additions.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michelle Shabrami of the Preservation Staff. The application before you is 459 Broadway, which is located between Prince Street and West Houston Street in the Tribeca Historic District. The application has two components. The first is to remove an existing rooftop addition, which is non-visible, shown here, and to construct a new glass addition and a swimming pool and a trellis at the rear, as well as raising the parapet partially, which will conceal the additions. So this is from standing on West Broadway. The hatch line indicates where the previous parapet was, and the architect Mike House of Rad Studio is here to discuss the proposal.
Hi, thank you for having me. So I'm just going to go back to the first page here for a second. So in this first slide, we're just trying to give an overview of what the project is. As stated earlier, by the way, this is 459 West Broadway, if anybody was wondering. So this is an overview, a perspective shot, and a rooftop view of what we're proposing. We have a glass addition, and we have lots of landscaping and decking, and we have a rear trellis at the rear of the building. And then this is a bird's eye view from above, and this is a view from the neighbor's window, which is about 16 and a half feet from our project. So this is the existing rooftop, and as you can see, there is a sort of sea of mechanical equipment up here. It's very inefficient. We had very long duct runs that were feeding the penthouse below, and actually the parapets, existing parapets here, were only about 8 inches tall. So in my opinion, this created quite a hazardous condition, especially at the edge there, where the duct is actually higher than the parapet. And anytime people were having to service this, it was clearly a major issue. This is our existing greenhouse structure here, and an existing trellis and plantings that were actually at the West Broadway side, or are currently at the West Broadway side of the project. So here, our existing street view here from across the street, looking up from West Broadway. And then here, we tried to sort of zoom in and show you what we were doing with the parapet. Now, to support the work that's happening up here, we are pocketing steel beams into the parapet walls because the roof here can't support the actual weight of the work that we're doing. So to do that, we needed to sort of raise and reinforce the parapet. Additionally, we're creating, the original parapet's only 8 inches tall, so we're creating our legal parapet height by doing this. And then here's the view from the front. You can't really see much because, as you can see, the front we just have a planter at the front, very similar to what the neighbor did. By the way, this building, I'm just going to skip to the block front elevation here. This building has an existing roof addition, which you can see right there on the right. The neighboring building has an existing 3-story roof addition, which you can see right there. And the building on the corner has an existing 1-story addition. And then this is a zoomed in elevation of what we're proposing. Our penthouse is a finish height of about 10'6" or 10'3", I believe. But it should be on your elevation there. These are the sightline views from various points along the block. And this is an existing and proposed section, so you can kind of see what's going on here. That's our existing low parapet. This is our raised deck area. We have a lot of structural, mechanical, all types of stuff sort of going on underneath this deck. And then existing and proposed short section. And then these are the photos of our mock-up. So we tried to indicate what each line represented. So here you have the top of this is the top of the parapet here, where basically where the railing is above the brick. Same thing over here. This is the height of the raised parapet. It sort of steps up a little bit to conform with the slope of the roof. And right here you can see this white line here is the outline of the trellis that we're proposing at the rear yard. And you can probably see it better on your printout, but right here, there's sort of like an outline here, and that's of the actual penthouse addition, enclosed space. And that's pretty much all.
So except for the parapet, the rest of what you're proposing cannot be seen from anywhere, is that correct?
Right, so this is the most visible shot, so that's looking right here.
Right, okay, because there's an empty lot, is that correct?
Exactly, right. So there's an empty lot right there. And so that's like, so what you perceive here is this raised parapet at the back here. And then, of course, we're going to match this. This is a common red brick at the side that has a gold brick, or not gold, but yellowish brick at the front. But we're not touching that because this is already kind of built up here. And sort of luckily for us, we have a nice stopping point of this existing chimney right here, which our parapet will frame into. And I have the existing and the proposed bricks here if anybody is interested in that.
All those things that we're seeing there, like little puffy things, those are plants. We're not seeing anything built.
That's right, yeah,
Above that,
exactly, right here. Yeah, this is you'll see everything above this line is built up.
Right.
That's what they're building up.
Those curly brownish, greenish things. Are
Yeah, those are planters, right? So if you look at, I'll show you the plan for a second. So if you kind of I have this kind of, this is the proposed key plan. So all along here, and it's not showing up here, but anyway, this is going to be planted all along
You
here.
can see it in the rendering.
Right here. Yeah, that's planted all along here.
So those are planters on top of the wall?
No, they're on top of the deck, and then the parapet wall comes up beyond them. So our legal parapet height is given to us by the height of the railing that's spanning in between these flues, these chimneys, and then the planters are just basically resting on the deck next to the parapet. Does that make sense?
But what's the height of the planter versus the top of the wall?
The planter on average is about 24 inches tall, so that comes to about here, and the parapet height off the deck is 3'6". So when the plant height of the plant relative to the parapet depends on the type of plant, of course. Probably on average 5 foot tall.
But the wall is railing?
But so the wall is brick up to about 2.5 feet, and then we have railing spanning in between these existing flues. And actually, some of these flues are inactive, but we're going to bring these chimneys up just so that we can create this railing. This is very similar to what many of these buildings do. It's like a very sort of affordable way to do this type of parapet, to create a legal parapet here, because brickwork can be very expensive. So if we span with steel railings, it's it's very simple kind of detail. I don't have a photo in it, but I would say 60% of the surrounding buildings have a similar parapet condition.
Okay. Other questions?
The penthouse is not visible, that's what you...
Right, my understanding, the penthouse is not visible.
That's right.
Okay.
So right here, the penthouse is just...
Okay, but it's not visible, right? Okay. Any other questions for now? All right, so we'll take testimony. Mark Demos.
Hello, LPC. My name is Mark Demos. I live at 141 Wooster Street, apartment 7C. I'm a working artist, and the proposed pergola in the back, the parapet must go up about 5 to 7 feet. When I see the workers out there, it's very tall. And then there is a privacy shield that would go about 2-3 feet higher if you see it. And then there's the proposed steel beams which really make this project very high, and it blocks out two of my windows. It blocks out 4 other units, and it's really, I see some of the photos, and they're not completely accurate because those machines have been gone for a long time. And you can see, if you look over even though it's a diagonal look, you can't see when you go over the restaurant, you can see where the mock-up is, where these metal studs are. You can see that from the street. And it just seems it goes so high that not only does it affect all the people in our building, especially myself, the other workers, but our downstairs neighbor who was part of fighting the Broome Street Expressway. She's been around since the 60s. She's 94, and her light is going to be blocked as well. She still paints every day, and not only do I think it's bad for her work, I think it's bad for her health. But when you see this beautiful, I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's a beautiful Hollywood Hills home, but if it was possible, we brought up at the community board meeting, maybe push the pergola 20 feet forward or something, just so it wouldn't be right in front of our windows. I'm not against this whole construction. I just think the back parapet really blocks out the neighbor's light. And maybe if they would be considerate enough to move it forward, that could be a wonderful compromise if that was okay with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Zay?
Our testimony just had to do with the visibility of the house.
Okay. Michael Grossman?
Hi, I'm Michael Grossman. I'm at 141 Worcester, also 7D, and I've been in that building for about 30 years, and seen a lot of people do a lot of things on neighboring rooftops. The rooftop mentioned that I think may show a little bit in a couple of these photographs at 457. Is the other half of what I look out on from my space. And there, they put up a translucent railing, was the only thing above the original parapet. There are 10 quite beautifully landscaped trees that go back about 15 feet before you hit any man-made structure at all. And then there's a large penthouse space, also not visible from the street. I mean, they've created a beautiful space with incredible sensitivity to the surroundings. Here, what we're going to be looking at, from our point of view, there's one image that was shown, but it's 700 square feet of solid brick masonry, windowless. That is what we're going to be looking out on. And above that, there's going to be a metal railing, and above that, there's going to be the iron girdered metal pergola. And that is, that view that we're looking at right there at the bottom right is essentially what the people on the 8th floor will see, because on the 7th floor, eye level is down where those bricks are. I mean, it's really, as Mark said, what's being done on the rooftop is a beautiful thing, and I understand that the clients are, spending lots of money and getting a gorgeous space that I'm sure will be nice to be in. But you could not really have come up with a plan that was less sensitive to the surroundings from our vantage point. And we would really appeal to the board to just ask that like 457, something be done that was considerate of the people around. Thanks.
Thank you. Is Dorothy Koppelman here?
Dorothy is,
Okay, we've got...
she's afraid she'll be involved.
Okay. All right, so she has submitted testimony, I think raising the same concerns. And Community Board 2 recommends general approval of this application, but recommends that the privacy screen be made more transparent and the pergola moved away from the property line at the rear as a courtesy to the adjacent neighbors. All right, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, sure. I think just a couple things. One is that we met with these guys. They were very nice to let us in and see their space and sort of get a feeling for how this would affect what we're doing there. And, you know, we are open to working with them. The problem is that this was only about a week before this hearing was scheduled, so we didn't get a chance to really dive in. But some of the things we discussed are possibly going, so I think that one issue is the roof of this trellis here, and right now this is like more than 50% open slats, very similar to this. Basically, it is this same material, the same openness on the roof. So we were considering maybe going to a deployable shade there so that when this is not in use, it's completely open so that sunlight is coming at an angle and fully penetrating back to their windows as much as possible. The project that he's referring to has an extremely expensive stainless steel and glass railing which acts as the legal parapet. And this is something that we looked at early on, but because we have quite a bit more linear feet parapet that we're dealing with, we didn't necessarily want to go there just because of the cost. But I think that is something that we would be willing to look at if it's going to sort of help. And
Can I just ask quickly, just in reference to that,
yeah.
what do the neighbors on the 4th and the 5th floor see out their windows? I mean, are they looking at a
Looking
wall
at the
too?
wall.
And not this wall, the existing
Well,
wall. I'm saying
the
further
wall-
lower down on,
It's hard for me to know
Okay.
exactly because we didn't capture the exact height of their windows relative to our project.
right, the point is
But
at
the
some
wall-
point below the testimony, neighbors are looking out onto wall.
Yes.
Right. Well, I believe that this lower, I'm not sure, but I think that this lower neighbor is already half of her view is obstructing the wall, but
And
we
just
did
to,
our- we did our best
right. And just to
approximation.
clarify, you're increasing the wall by how much?
It varies along the slope of the roof.
But okay,
so-
at the rear?
Right, at the-
That's 7 feet.
It's like 8 feet or something, well,
But 7 feet from
7
the
feet
floor.
from-
So from the floor, but it's really,
Plus.
8 feet from the floor.
8 from the floor, it's about 7 feet from the existing parapet. The height of the existing parapet.
Right, I just want to, again, sometimes these issues are raised in the context of a certificate of appropriateness, but they relate to light and air, and as you know, that's not one of our considerations in terms of appropriateness. So just to remind.
And sorry, it's one more point. The penthouse addition is not visible from the street, and Mark had said that that the studs are, but the studs are just for support. Sorry.
I'm referring to the pergola.
Well, okay. Well, you can see, yeah, you'll see the top line of the pergola here. It's a little hard to see here, but there's like a piece of string going across that's meant to identify that. But the studs themselves in this mock-up go at least a foot beyond what we're talking about just for support. More than that. See that? So this is the top of the pergola here, this is the top of the parapet.
so you don't have a photograph because you couldn't take a photograph from your own. I mean, so you don't have a photograph of your rear showing the additional construction, right? Do you have a drawing that shows the rear, right? Where is the drawing again that shows that building? No, I mean the whole.
An elevation of the rear buildings that we're.
Yes.
What are you asking for, Roberta,
I was
photographs from?
Yeah, no, we don't have, I mean, we never sort of anticipated this, so we didn't capture that in detail.
I
So
was
we,
just saying, they show the top of the building. I just wanted to see the whole building, just to get a better idea of, I mean, the rear of the building, just to have a better idea of really how the back changed.
Right, I think that-
Preventing you from putting the pergola on the other side of the pool? Switching
it's
the
visible
pool
from
and
the street.
pergola?
Huh?
Oh, on the other side of the pool.
Yeah.
Well, the idea, what the clients really want here is privacy from the neighboring buildings. And this is like
So
a,
you would still have privacy from the neighboring building if it was on the other side of the pool?
yeah, but only when, the only place
Well,
to put
not
it would
really.
be Well, this
wouldn't.
shaded area, because it's against the wall here, that the view is right here, right? So that's blocking, that's giving privacy from their sitting area that they have back here and from the pool itself, and really the rest of the garden. So if we were to move it here, then it becomes difficult in figuring out how we're going to shade this seating area. It's shading and privacy concerns.
Okay, any other questions?
The process of shading is what actually cuts off the light to the folks behind, right? So that's going to be an issue if it stays in that location regardless, in
Right.
spite of what you're saying about putting a sunshade up,
Right.
possibly.
Right. But, yeah. I mean, I'm open to doing something that's kind of deployable here. The problem is that we need to have some kind of structure. And if the neighbors are objecting to the structure, I don't want to have anything to attach a shade to, right? So that's sort of what we're trying to figure out.
I think the city very often encounters situations like this where you're overlooking somebody else's roof and they put various furniture or pergolas. I think for us, it's really about whether we feel that the pergola and its location is not appropriate for the district. And given that it has very, very little, not even visible except through maybe, I think, one sort of small piece right at the top.
Yeah, you'll see you'll see sort of like a faint line of the pergola.
Yes, across from there.
There's just one more question. So go back 2 slides to that. So where's the pergola and the pool house on here? On that?
This is the pool house, I guess you would say. This is enclosed penthouse. This is like a lawn. Then you step up here, 1, 2, 3, and then this is a pool. This is the pergola right here.
And so you have something, what do you have now around the pergola, I guess, at the pool house? So what is on the exterior of that?
It's what you see lower there. It's like a privacy screen.
Yeah, and this is
That's
like
what they're
an
putting.
open, like slat privacy screen, basically. And this basically goes from the edge of the pergola around like this, and then it kind of goes along this way and then around, and then stops right here.
All right, any other questions? Okay, in that case, we can close the hearing. All right, I'm okay with this. Does anybody have concerns? Okay. We could encourage them to continue to work with the next-door neighbors to sort of refine the design of the pergola to bring in more light and air.
I think as long as the resulting design follows these general lines and it remains with this level of visibility or less, it's up to them.
Okay. All right, so I think I closed the hearing. Adi, will you read the resolution?
In the matter of 459 West Broadway in the Soho Cast Iron Historic District, the application is to construct rooftop additions, and I recommend approval, finding that raising the parapet wall and chimneys will not result in the loss of or damage to significant architectural or historic features of the building, that the proposed parapet wall extension conceal the proposed penthouse and trellis, that the bricks used for the parapet wall extension will match the brick on the rest of the facade in size, shape, color, and texture, that the parapet extension will be visible only at an oblique angle over the adjacent building from the north on West Broadway, and that its presence will not detract from the overall character of the roof line.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, this application's been approved.